What is up? We are live with the Podcast Rebellion. I'm so excited to have you guys here. I'm your host, Chaz Pippitt. I'm the CEO of Baseball Rebellion, and we talk about everything baseball and softball. My co-host, Wil Hoyle, and I, he's the Duke's second baseman, we talk about anything related to training those sports. Hitting, pitching, game approach, throwing, arm care, weight training, you name it, we cover it. And tonight we have an amazing show for you. Will's going to talk about calling time in the batter's box and when you should and shouldn't do it and why or why not you should do it. He's got definitely an interesting take. I'm excited for you guys to hear. And we're also going to be joined by Minnesota Twins farmhand Jackson Hicks. He's got an unbelievable story. He's a former UNC Club Ball player, and he made it all the way to the minors with the Minnesota Twins. He's worked so hard. I've watched him train so hard at Baseball Rebellion, lifting, changing his body, changing how he throws. And he went through independent ball with my former partner, Justin Orenduff, a former first rounder. And now he's with the Twins, and he's really changing his whole life opportunity in baseball. But first, my opening rant is going to be about failure in training and how much is too much. What I need you guys to understand is the in vogue way of training right now, whether it's college baseball, high school baseball, or private instructors. The in vogue way of training is really failure-based. And what we have to understand is there's sometimes we're failing just too much. And so the cool thing to do in baseball is we're going to go strobe glasses and double machines and all these different things to like get you totally out of rhythm and failing constantly because that's game-like. Well, I understand that thought because the other side of that coin was the deliberate practice model by the Talent Code and Daniel Coyle, where he outlines repeated practice over and over, stacking success on success on success. And both, it turns out, it looks like, are wrong. Recently, I was on Twitter, which is like my favorite place in the world, and I found a tweet by Andrew D. Huberman, PhD. He's a Stanford professor, and he talks a lot about failure and success in sports. And what's interesting is he found in this paper that 85% success rate actually gives players and people in academia the most chance for learning. So that means if you're failing, let's say you're a hitter and you're practicing in such a way that you're failing at 70% like a good hitter would in a game, well, that's problematic because you're not giving yourself enough success to actually figure out how you can thrive instead of survive the game. And what I need you guys to understand is this podcast and all sport instruction podcasts are about getting you to survive, not survive, but thrive and be excellent inside of exactly what you're looking for. So if you're a hitter and you're constantly failing, think about that demoralizing way that takes you into when you get back to your dorm or you go back to your house and you're thinking, God, I was, 8 out of 10, I was getting out again. Like, man, I just might not be that good. I mean, I'm not saying you should be taking easy, mindless front toss or tee work, and that's all you should be doing. Like, you have to challenge yourself. But at the same time, if you're constantly failing, that's going to crush your soul. It's going to make you not enjoy training, and it's going to actually limit your opportunity to continue to grow as a player. If we failed 85, 70, 80% of the time we were riding a bike, I know I wouldn't have kept riding a bike. Have a broken arm. So if you think about the different things that we learn in life that aren't hitting related, specifically hitting, where you're failing 70, 80% of the time, and that's actually successful. Think about how you learn to like chew your food or like go to the bathroom by yourself, right? You didn't fail all that time. You'd have starved to death, right? Or you'd smell terrible. And that's not what we want. What we want to understand is you have to have some level of success, but not so much success that you can't actually learn anything. So what the key here is about 85%, right? Because if I'm a trainer, and I can't guarantee that Will, for instance, has an 85% success rate in any drill we do. What I want to try to do is give him a fair drill that he can practice, understand, and solve quickly so that he can feel the successful movement that we're looking for and then move forward. And I think a lot of baseball and softball instructors are really missing the mark. And it's almost like a badge of honor. Like, yeah, man, my hitters hit terrible today. My drills were really good. I'm not really sure that that's the case. So there is an actual balance here. And I don't think that we're finding it very often. And I think there's a real opportunity for us to be more accountable and better as instructors and let our students actually learn something faster and better because we're setting them up for success. This opening rant was brought to you by Kratos Bat Weight. The Kratos Bat Weight is an awesome product that we've been using here at Baseball Rebellion for weeks. And it's a cool thing because it attaches at the hands. We can actually do split grip stuff with it. We can put it at the base of the bat. We can really move the weight and change the moment of inertia. And what's really cool is the Kratos Bat Weight is 10 to 40 ounces. So no matter how strong or how old or how big your hitter is, they've got the weight to make your swing great. Go to KratosSports.com, check it out. Use promo code CP Live. You get 15% off your first order. Kratos Sports, unleash the power. I'm going to go ahead and bring in my co-host, Wil Hoyle, now. He is the starting second baseman here at Duke in Durham. He's a local Durham guy, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about calling time, and I'm excited to hear that. But, Will, how's your day going, brother?
Good, bro. Long day, but glad to be here.
All right, well, let's hear what you got to say. You were talking to me about calling time earlier, and I was really excited to hear what you're talking about. So bring it to us. Let's see it.
Well, I feel like I have a hot take here, which is why I thought it'd be funny to talk about. But my whole thing is when a pitcher long holds, like it's normally when there's a runner on. And so, like, obviously the point of the long hold is to kind of make everyone uncomfortable, like make the base runner uncomfortable, make the hitter uncomfortable, kind of they get tense, you know? And a lot of times in order to support like your base runner and make sure that they still have a good chance to steal the bag, you're supposed to call time to like allow them to kind of reset and like not let the pitcher freeze them out there. But my take on this is that pitchers don't like getting out of rhythm anyways. Like they hate having to execute a long hold and then throwing a strike is something that's celebrated. Like, great job, you went long hold and you were able to like still throw a strike. So if that's the case and like pitchers, it makes them uncomfortable too, I feel like you should almost never call time. Like when I play, I never ever call time because also my really hot take about this is that when a pitcher long holds, they don't want to throw the pitch at all. Like I think half the time they're just waiting for you to call time. And then when you don't call time, what do you think about that? You don't agree?
No, that's awesome. When you don't call time, it totally screws them. And
when you don't, they're like, oh crap,
I have to throw a pitch now, and then they step off and you win. And if
you really win.
If you can get them to step off, you have absolutely you're renting an apartment in their head, and I 100%. Love it. I absolutely.
And I also think obviously you have to do it sometimes. Like, just say if you're hitting second, like your leadoff guy's on, who's a base stealer. And they're like long holding them to keep them there. Like there's certain times you have to do it. But in my opinion, I think you should never like sometimes I'll stand there and it'll be like 10 seconds and they're just waiting for me. And I'm like, I had a pitcher this year. I can't think it was against UVA. I can't remember. And they long holded me and the guy's just staring at me. I go. And he waited. And finally he stepped off. And I was like, yeah, you don't want to throw this pitch. Like you don't want to. But that's my take. What do you think about that?
No, I absolutely love it. You know, that's the funny thing about Will. And guys, I'm going to give you a little insight into me, okay? Like Will is what, 20, what are you, 22?
Yeah, 22.
You have played baseball 3 times longer than I did in my life at 22, right? And I'm 39. So you have all these fascinating like little baseball tidbits and little funny little things, how you make fun of guys. And that's the thing. Like I learn something from you every time you walk in a building. And I think that you learn something from us every time you do as well. And this is actually a really cool take because we constantly talk about making pitchers uncomfortable as hitters, right?
Exactly.
Like where can you stand? How do you control the box? How do you hold your line and make sure that you are the one dictating the at bat, even though we all know we're actually reacting to what the pitcher's doing, which is problematic. Don't tell me why I said that. But I love it. Anything that any hitter can do or any offense can do to make the pitcher uncomfortable, whether that's messing around on the base pass or standing really close to the plate or just really being aggressive early in the count, or even being able to stand there in a long hold and having the discipline, the confidence, and the calmness inside of your own mind to control that situation and not let your heart rate speed up, because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make you jittery. They're trying to make you fail.
Yeah, and they're also, it's for base runners too, right? Like pitchers are taught to vary their holds, like sometimes go quick, sometimes go long. And my whole thing is if they long hold you like really long and you stand there and make them pitch it, like they're not going to do it again. So I think
No.
overall, at the end of the day, you end up letting your base runner get there, like get an easier one. Because the next pitch, he's not going to do it again. If he obviously you have veteran guys who are really good at, varying their holds, or like you have times when you really need somebody to steal the bag and they're not like necessarily good at it. Like you have to take your medicine sometimes and do it for your team. But I
Sure.
think overall, I think it's a fun like mental game to say like who can stand there longer, because I'm telling you, like they don't want to throw it. When we have post game notes after every scrimmage and game, and literally after scrimmages, a post game note from like our head coach would be like, "Great job by blank for executing a long hold and pitch." So like if that's so hard that it makes post game notes, like I want to make you do it.
Right. Yeah.
That's my whole point. And people never say that.
And make them execute something that's difficult. You're exactly right. You know what? I had never thought of it that way. If it's so important that it's brought up post game by a head coach at a big time Division I school, then obviously that's something that they don't execute well, or it wouldn't be talked about.
And they go, whenever a hitter calls time, the dugout's like, "Your box, that a boy, like way to control it." Like, no, he made you step out.
Yeah,
like, it's not your box. It's his box now. Yeah, it's his box.
That is such a funny way to think about it, but you're 100% right.
Like, I hate that. I never
right.
say like your box. I'm like, he just won. Like, absolutely not. But I mean, like I said, sometimes you have to do it. But overall, like, come on, like,
What do
don't
you
call time.
What do you think Coach Steen thinks about that, or what do you think Coach Jordan thinks about that? They're the more offensive guys on your staff, right? So what do
Yeah.
you think they would hear if they heard this from you?
Well, I kind of I mess with them about it sometimes because we're very aggressive on the bases. Like we're all about stealing bags, and Coach Steen doesn't like having to give you the seal. Like he wants you to just take it on your own. And so he would probably not be too pleased to hear me say that I never like to call time. But overall, like we all know pitchers like aren't paid to they're not paid to control the run game. They're not paid to long hold. They're paid to like throw the ball over the plate as hard as they can. And like Coach Steen says it all the time. So I think like overall he would agree with me in terms of like it's tough to execute long holds. Like there's a time and place to do it. But he wants you to like he doesn't want you to allow the pitcher to just control the run game and freeze our base runners for sure. Which like you got to know who you have on the mound. Like if Johnny Freshman's out there, as Coach Steen would call them, then like I'm gonna make them throw the pitch, like no doubt. Like I'm sorry, but if like a fifth year senior is out there, then I'm probably I don't know, maybe like I'm not gonna let him freeze up Alex Mooney on first base who like needs to get to second or something. You know what I mean?
Sure, absolutely.
So like if I was in a real like if I was talking to my coach, I wouldn't be as like polarizing about it, but that's always been I always think it's so dumb to call time. I hate it.
No, you're exactly right. I absolutely love it. We got a lot of people joining on Instagram Live. Just make sure if you're joining that you're tagging your friends, you're sharing it, you're reposting this however you can. We're live on YouTube. We're live on Twitter. We're live on Instagram. And Will, like I told you last week, has taken over our TikTok. So you need to start looking for little snippets of this pod and other things from inside Duke and inside of what we're doing, more available on the Baseball Rebellion TikTok. So I know he's excited about that, and I am too. But yeah, I want to definitely, Will, I love that take, and I think that's a really smart thing. And what Will really looks at things a little bit differently on the approach side and on the teammate side and on the playing the game side. And I obviously look at it a little bit differently on the training side, hence the name Podcast Rebellion. But now we're going to bring in somebody named Jackson Hicks. So Jackson is a guy who walked into my facility maybe 9 months ago with his little pitching bag and a dream, right? And he's talking to me and he's like, yeah, I want to play club ball at UNC. I really want to try to get better. I want to make sure that I'm giving myself the best opportunity going forward to maximize my ability to play at the next level. And I'm thinking to myself, what is he talking about? The next level of what? You're playing club ball. But I watched him work out. I watched him go about his business. I watched him throw to hitters, and he was really, really impressive. And as I continued to watch his velocity go up and his breaking ball get a little bit sharper and some things change for him, it was really, really clear to me that I think this guy's got a real chance. So I'm going to bring Jackson in now. And Jackson, welcome, brother. I'm super excited to have you on the pod. Going from high school baseball near Durham to club ball at Carolina, and then finally independent ball, and now you're with the Twins. Like, what a story. Congratulations. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Chaz. Happy to be here. It's been quite a ride, and honestly one that's not possible without your help at Baseball Rebellion. So I've been super thankful for all that y'all have done along the way.
Well, I definitely appreciate you saying that. I know the cool thing about that is, and this is a real story for the players listening right now, if you don't deserve the help, I can't help you. Because if you're not good enough, I can't stick my neck out there to try to get you a job. And with Jackson, that's exactly what I did. I called my former partner, Justin Orndorff. He was a first-round draft pick out of VCU with the Dodgers, and he runs the USPBL, which is a really cool and interesting independent league that sends actually a good amount of pitchers into affiliated ball every single year. And I said, Justin, you got to check this guy out. He played club ball UNC. You know, he doesn't throw 97, but he's a guy that I think has really good breaking stuff. He's constantly around the zone. And whenever I watch him go live, I mean, he's the best guy going live. And we had, you know, pitchers who have since transferred to Georgetown, pitchers who have since gone to other schools, pitchers who threw almost 100 and were better at dotting up guys in the back than hitting the strike zone, you know, throwing live, and Jackson's the one getting everybody out. So Jackson, talk about what did you do to change yourself from a club ball player with an okay kind of average ERA into a professional athlete?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long ride. I think it honestly probably goes back to starting in high school. I mean, I played against Will, and I don't know if you remember me at all, Will, but I wasn't any sort of special athlete in high school. I think I hit 150 as a shortstop my junior year. So just no sort of college offers, no real prospects to play in baseball after high school. And then the summer before my senior year of high school, I kind of saw the writing on the wall that was going to happen. And I kind of wanted to start pitching, see if I could, go over to being a pitcher rather than a position player. And I did end up making that switch my senior year of high school, in a kind of limited capacity. I threw maybe 25 innings, got like 5 or 6 starts and 5 or 6 appearances out of the bullpen. And it went well. I had like a pretty low ERA, competed well in all the games that I played. But as a high school senior throwing 83, 84 with only 20 innings of high school baseball, I didn't have any offers. And it was just a kind of lifelong dream of mine to go to UNC. I grew up a UNC fan, rooting for all the teams. So great school, obviously. Ended up going to UNC. And then from there, I didn't think that my baseball career was over. I just wanted to keep playing, and just because it's a game that I love. Didn't really obviously think of it any sort of after college pro baseball at that point. I just wanted to keep playing. The club baseball team seemed like a great opportunity to do that. Just have a great group of guys, get out, kind of play on the weekends, not super competitive. But
really quick, let me ask you a question, Jackson. Like, I don't know much about club baseball. Okay.
Yeah.
Because, you know, that I was recruited differently than you and Will. And club was never like, I didn't even know that existed, frankly. Right. So talk about, I know you're getting to your story, but really quickly tell people about what even is club baseball. Like, it's not NCAA sanctioned. It's something different. Like, do you have a coach? Do you lift weights? Like, what is it?
Yeah. So club baseball, it's an entirely student run organization. So there's like seniors who get elected the year before to be the president, vice president, treasurer of the team. So those guys are the coaches. There's no actual head coach. There's no strength and conditioning. There's nothing like that. It's just your teammates are the ones who are making the lineups. We would have practice for like an hour, hour and a half. We had practice every day during the week, but you only had to go to 2 practices a week because obviously school comes first. You're not a D1 athlete, so school has a much bigger commitment.
School still comes first. Come on.
I mean, yeah, but we're also not able to make our schedules around the club baseball practices. So yeah, we would practice a couple times a week, lift on our own whenever you could find time with your schedule, and then you'd get out and play 3 games on the weekend, a doubleheader on Saturday, and then a 9-inning game on Sunday. And that's pretty much how it went.
That's awesome. So you're doing your own strength conditioning, you're doing your own schoolwork, you're no tutors, no training table, none of that, no athletic trainers, I would imagine, none of that. So
no.
One, it's like a survive and advance situation, especially the pitcher, right? Like you got to stay healthy. You got to take care of your arm. You got to do your arm care. So you walk into my building and you're like, hey, man, I want to try to get as good as I can possibly be. I want to train here. Let's go. How much different are you as a pitcher and an athlete from 9 months ago to today?
I mean, pretty night and day, I would say. When I walked in 9 months ago, I could probably count on both hands the number of like actual pitching lessons that I'd ever had in my life. Right. So I was kind of like, I'd spent the last 4 years kind of trying to figure things out on my own, like following some Instagram pages, looking at YouTube videos of like Max Scherzer's mechanics or Garrett Cole's mechanics, and just trying to mimic the positions they got into without really understanding like why they were getting into certain positions or sort of how to make myself like throw harder and be a better pitcher, just trying to mimic what the major league guys were doing.
Right.
And then through all the sessions with Corey and obviously my time with the Twins, I've gotten a much better understanding of kind of like the why behind the pitching, like why we want to do certain things, how we can trigger certain positions with different drills, or just a much deeper understanding of how to do things like that.
So you mentioned Corey. You mentioned Corey, right? So like,
yeah,
I've only met a couple people in my life who are as excited about throwing a baseball as Corey is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that dude is ready to roll throwing wise. I mean, he gets going and I don't know how he breathes, let alone, gets all his stuff out that's in his head. When you first meet Corey, it's like taking in for information through a fire hose. How are you able to deal with that constant barrage of new information that you hadn't heard, new ideas about how to train, and then filter that into something that worked out really, really well for you?
Yeah, like you said, Corey's obviously super excited about pitching, knows a ton, and throws a lot at you. But he also does a really good job of kind of simplifying it down. Like he might talk for 2 or 3 minutes about the biomechanics of pitching or whatever. But then he'll be like, okay, so for these next 2 or 3 throws, focus on this one thing. So focus on getting into your hip hinge a little bit better. And that helped me not have to think about 30 different things, but rather focus on just one thing, doing that better, and then kind of building off of that. And Corey's also done a really good job of giving me drills that build off each other each and every week that I can use, that have helped me over the course of this off season improve just really from the ground up. Like we started with just some hip rotation drills, moving on to rotational throwing, into getting into the finish for my motion. So really he's done a great job this off season of helping me build and get stronger as the off season's gone on.
Awesome.
Was there like a point you felt like where you thought, okay, I can actually kind of play at the next level? Because obviously, like our club baseball guys just kind of do it to like hang out and have fun. Like they're not thinking about playing professionally. Like, is there a moment where you're like, wait a second, I have an opportunity to like keep going? Because that's obviously, I've never heard of a story like this.
Yeah. There definitely been a couple moments along the way. The first one was my last start in my club baseball career. Right before COVID happened, it was against NC State, and I threw a no-hitter. And someone had a radar gun up in the stands and said that I was up to 92 miles an hour. I was like, okay, I feel like that's pretty good. I don't really know, because like all I was seeing was like Vanderbilt on TV, and all their pitchers are throwing 97 out of the pen. And I'm like, is this what you have
Don't
to
talk
be
about
to?
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't talk about Vanderbilt.
I have PTSD. Please stop.
Yeah. So I was looking at that, and I'm like thinking that that's kind of what you need to play at the next level. But after that, I played summer ball, summer of 2020, and played not the highest level D1 athletes, but played against a couple of D1 athletes from some smaller schools and some D2, D3 players. And I had a lot of success there. And I was thinking, maybe I could keep playing. I was thinking I might go to grad school and use my 5th year of eligibility to try to walk onto a team there. So then up until I came to Baseball Rebellion last March, I was going to a field near my house and just kind of throwing baseballs and weighted balls as hard as I could at the fence, trying to get my velocity up. But really not until I came in and threw live at-bats the first day with Chaz, threw really well. And Chaz came up to me and said, like, I think I could get you this opportunity with the USPBL. That's kind of when it all started to sink in and think that maybe it might be a possibility.
Well, that's the thing, right? So like obviously I wanted to help you out, but like if you come in, you're throwing 82 and you're getting absolutely raked on with your hanger, I can't do anything for you, right? So
Yeah.
Obviously, you crush the weight room. Like I watch you work out every day and I'm like, I have no interest in doing what he's doing because I am 39 and fat and old. And so when I watch you do that, I'm just like, I remember when I was willing to do that and I am no longer willing to do that. So how much weight and strength have you gained since you started coming into Baseball Rebellion and smashing rogue weights every day?
I've definitely gained a lot. I gained probably 15 pounds of muscle since I came in here last spring.
Wow.
Yeah, Garrett, when he was working at Baseball Rebellion, he did a great job of putting together a strength and conditioning program for me to do each and every day. And that helped me. Like, I think my deadlift went up like 40 pounds in the 8 weeks before I left for indie ball.
Awesome.
So pretty big gains. And now, like, following the Twins strength and conditioning program, I've been trying to focus a lot more on like the mobility and being able to move well rather than just lift tons of heavy weight. So that's been more my focus this off season.
Sure.
Yeah.
How much? So mass obviously equals gas. Like,
yeah.
Did your velo go up like as your weight went up, or was it kind of staggered, or like how did that happen?
Yeah, no, definitely the velo kind of went up over time. There wasn't ever one big, like all of a sudden 7 miles an hour overnight, something like that. Like over the course of my time in college and through now, it's been kind of just a steady 1 to 2, 2 to 3 miles an hour every year as I put on 10 to 15 pounds.
When you got to the Twins, did they, and like kind of going into the off season, did they tell you anything that like they really wanted to see from you that's like different than what you're already doing, or like how did kind of their feedback, I guess, change your work and like how you went about your business?
Yeah, the main feedback they had in terms of like the weight room stuff was being able to increase my mobility, especially with the hips, just trying to move a little bit better on the mound. But the really interesting thing that's happened over the course of the offseason, like I mentioned, Corey, with all the drills that he gives me, oftentimes, because I have to send like all my video for all my drills back to the Twins, and my pitching coaches there, they'll see the video and they'll pinpoint something with my ankle or with my hips or my posture or something like that. And they'll send me a drill to do the next day. And then Corey will come in that afternoon when I go to work with him, and he's like, hey, just found this new drill. Really want you to try it. I think it'll help you with your posture, hips, or whatever. And throughout the whole offseason, it's been the same drills that the Twins pitching coaches have been giving me, completely independent of each other. So that's been really encouraging to know that they're on the same page, and I'm not having wildly different things thrown at me from all different directions.
Yeah, that's definitely something that can absolutely destroy an athlete's mindset and an athlete's training protocols, because you're trying to be respectful of where you are, but you also realize who your boss is. So, you know, it's a really tough situation, because the bottom line, and I want everybody to hear this, every coach that we all have or had, I believe they genuinely want to help us be better players. You know, I know everything I say to players tries to make them better, right? And I know that's the same with all the guys at Baseball Rebellion, whether it's Corey or the hitting staff, it doesn't really matter. You know, we are all in to help you all the time. And they might be, you know, an old school coach, or they might be a new school coach. They might have a different training idea, but it's really cool to hear that what you're being told in your right ear is matching what you're being told in your left ear. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's been really encouraging. And I've definitely seen a lot of progress over the course of the off season. I mean, my first 100% bullpen was Monday, and the velocity was already a couple ticks higher than I was in my bullpens at the end of last season.
That's great.
So definitely feeling good and feel like I got a lot out of this off season.
That's phenomenal, man.
Were there any kind of obviously coming from playing club baseball to training at Baseball Rebellion to signing with a professional organization, was there any welcome to pro ball moments where you're like, holy, this is a little different?
Yeah. In my first independent league game, I was coming into close and got the first 2 outs on 4 pitches, and it was my first time pitching in a stadium where there was a scoreboard with the radar gun readings. And I was like, okay, gotten 2 quick outs. I'm just going to throw a fastball down the middle as hard as I can. Try to see the number on the gun.
As any rational person would.
I think I see where this is going.
Yeah, so I threw it as hard as I could right down the middle, and this big lefty turned it around 115 exit velocity off the wall for a double.
But how hard did it come in, though? What number did we pop?
93.
There we go.
Yeah, there you go. Hey,
Yeah,
hey, man, the pitcher supplied all that power, brother. That was you, man.
Yeah,
that was you.
That was all me. Gave him a gift.
He's welcome, you know?
Yeah.
Well, hey, you showed out well, and he showed out well. Is there anything else that was pretty wild once you got into pro ball, affiliated ball,
with the Twins? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just it's been kind of wild, playing against guys who I've faced on MLB The Show with their future stars card. The first start that I had in low A was against the Yankees affiliate, and the second batter was Jason Dominguez, who MLB The Show's had.
Never heard of him.
Yeah. I've seen him all over Instagram for years and played with him and against him on MLB The Show. So that was kind of a surreal moment to be standing on the mound facing him. And also just playing against guys that I've watched in the College World Series, or having teammates who won a national championship and that I've followed on ESPN for a couple of years. It's been kind of surreal.
Yeah. Well, talking about college baseball, did you ever talk to the Carolina coaches about trying to get on that team, or did that just never even come close to happening?
Yeah, no, I never had any sort of communication with them. Part of that was me not believing that I was good enough early on, which obviously throwing 83, I wasn't, but maybe by my junior year, I think I was around 90. But at that point, I was also kind of committed to the club team. I made friends outside of baseball, had some other clubs and organizations, and really didn't think that baseball was going to be a long-term thing for me. So if I could go back, maybe I would put myself out there a little bit more and try to walk onto the varsity team. But at the same time, I'm obviously pretty happy with the way things turned out, so I don't think I'd change anything.
Yeah, I mean, why would you? You were obviously a late bloomer. You were
Hmm.
somebody that needed a little bit more time and seasoning, and you got that in the weight room. And I constantly tell people, like, you can't lift your way to the big leagues. Like, I truly believe that if you could, there'd be certain guys that were there and certain guys that wouldn't be there. But
Hmm.
man, you can help yourself a ton if you stack some power and mass on top of skill. And that's what you've done. I mean, you had a good breaking ball when you came in. Now you've just added weight, you've added size. Those gains with the Z are showing up on the radar gun. And that's the thing, man. You're going to have a real chance to progress this year. And you're a hungry dude, you're a humble dude, but you're somebody that I'm excited to be a part of their ongoing career, and I'm excited to see how you continue to develop going forward. One last question. I hope that you got a jersey from the Twins at some point from your first minor league, stint. And I don't know how, like,
Favor
I don't
incoming.
know. No, good Lord. No, I'm not asking for a jersey, you jerk. What I'm saying is when you showed that to your parents or your high school coach or your mentors, right? When they realized, like, wow, Jackson did it. What was it like for your club teammates to be like, holy crap, like, we got a pro with us, man? It validates a lot of people, right? And you
Yeah.
did the work. You did the work. I want to be super clear about that. But they were also a part of that overall journey and fostering the love that was making you willing to do the work. What was
Hmm.
it like, some of those reactions you got and that feeling you got? Because I remember, and you don't know this, I remember when you called to tell us you had got signed by the Twins. And I mean, the whole building stopped. The whole building shut down. And we were all just yelling at each other and jumping around. And it was just so cool. So do you have any moments like that with friends, family, teammates?
Yeah, I mean, the big one, obviously, my dad, from the time I was like 4 or 5, playing catch with him in the front yard. And he's always been one of the biggest believers and supporters. I mean, both my parents have. They were huge in supporting me when I told them I wanted to kind of take a gap year after I graduated from college and try to train to chase this dream, as unrealistic as it seemed. They were there supporting me at every game in college. So when I was able to go and give them my first strikeout ball from being with the Twins, and just kind of the culmination of all those years where they were going to freezing games out in Colorado, kind of in the middle of nowhere where I grew up, and then to high school, going to all the games and supporting me even when I was going 0 for 3 and striking out twice and hitting a dribbler to the third baseman.
Yeah,
Um,
we Will and I know how that is. That happens.
yeah. And then beyond that, to watching all my independent league games on YouTube, on the YouTube stream. So to be able to kind of thank them for all the time that they've put in, all the money that they've put in to take me to lessons over the years, buy me equipment. That was a really awesome moment to thank them and kind of show that it was all worth it for something in the end. And hopefully I'll be able to get them some more balls and memorabilia as I move up the line.
Absolutely. Just so you know, if your mom and dad ever want to thank us with a big donation to Baseball Rebellion or our team program, it's a
I told you your
nonprofit.
favor incoming. I told you.
Yeah. Yep. You're
He
right.
told me
Will.
to shut up, but I was right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was muting his mic.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding, man. But we're all really proud of you here at Baseball Rebellion, and it's been fun to watch you continue to get better and better and better. And unfortunately, dice up some of our hitters, which has been a little frustrating on my side. But yeah, man, I just appreciate you not drilling people in the neck like some of those guys were doing in
That's
live.
really nice of you. Like, truly.
We actually had a kid smoked in the neck tonight live, dude. It was
Oh,
freaking
really?
scary. Yeah, high school kid on a high school kid crime. So hopefully we can chill out with that. But guys, I want to wrap this up. I want to thank Jackson for being here. Definitely check him out. Jackson, tell everybody your Instagram handle so they can follow up on your progress going forward.
Yeah, my Instagram is J_Hawk_3. So yeah.
Let me get that on the screen.
hopefully be able to post from some different affiliates this year.
Definitely.
Awesome.
Dude, you have the coolest story ever, man. So
Appreciate
just getting here is so sick. So who cares what happens next? House money. That's all I
Yeah,
always say.
really, you really are
Yep.
house money, but that's the
So
thing,
sick.
man. But you got to let it ride. You got to let it ride as long as you possibly can. Because once it's over, man, I promise you that. As somebody who's 39, it has never felt more over for me than when I watch you lift weights. That is the truth. So, Will, I appreciate you coming in here as well. Awesome take on long holds. Anything we can do to screw up guys like Jackson on the mound. Jackson, actually, really quick before we go, what do you think on Will's long
Yeah,
hold
what did you
take?
think about
Did
that?
you
Yeah.
hear that?
I did hear that. That's definitely a great thought, Will. That was actually a big part of our fall camp we spent on practicing long holds and pitching because it is so hard for pitchers. So not a bad
Do you
idea
feel
to
like
stand in
you've
there.
ever started?
Validation for the kid.
Have you ever started a long
Validation.
hold and just been like, I'm not gonna throw this pitch. Like I'm just gonna wait for him to step out.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. I'm telling you.
The kid coming up hot.
Thank you.
I love it.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, I don't know enough about baseball to even know that that's a thing. So I'm glad that's why we have Will here. So super excited to have you guys. Check us out next week. We're going to have another really cool guest. Will's going to come up with something smarter about baseball than anything I can come up with. But I'm excited about some of the new things that we're doing at Baseball Rebellion, new hires, new job opportunities, and new roles. So make sure you join us next Wednesday at 9:30 Eastern for the PodCast Rebellion. We'll see you guys then.
See you, boys.
See y'all.